So, everybody, welcome back to WCCF Talks Gaming. It's your host, Keith, again. This week we have Alessio, Chris, and newcomer Kai stepping in for Dave as he's out right now. And say hello, everyone.
Hey. Hello.
Guten Abend.
But I don't know what that means.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
All right,
I'm in England.
It's morning for me, but we've got some good topics today. We've got a lot to talk about. It is a big embargo week. A lot of games coming out. That's one of the biggest things that we're going to talk about. And we're recording this before those embargoes are lifting. And we're also going to talk about some things that at the time of recording were leaks, but will have been confirmed by the time this goes live. But we're going to kick things off. We're going to be talking about Ghost of Tsushima. We've talked about it before, but now it's here, and we're going to hear all about it. And we got Halo 3 released on PC. I've been having some hands-on with that one, as well as Death Stranding's finally releasing on PC. And I'm going to discuss that one with the guys here who have played it on the PS4. And we're going to discuss the game itself and what we think about it. Then we're going to get into those leaks, including Assassin's Creed, as well as Far Cry 6. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Far Cry 6. Kai, Alessio, I'm going to let you guys take a flip a coin, find out who wants to kick things off with Ghost of Tsushima, because Chris and I have questions about this game, and we really want to hear about it.
Alessio, you're my boss, so that's all you.
I have a coin. We could have flipped.
All right, I'll kick off. Just saying that I think it's possibly the best game ever made by Sucker Punch, and it's certainly a lot better, I think, in comparison to the last one, which is Infamous Second Son. And it's also an interesting comparison to make, because Infamous Second Son was possibly one of the earliest open world games released for PlayStation 4. Because it launched in early 2014, and there were a few cross-generation ones, but of course Infamous was a PlayStation 4 exclusive, since it was made by Sucker Punch, which is owned by Sony. And to see the jump that's in Ghost of Tsushima, it's really kind of telling of what the same developer can do on the same hardware, because it's still the PlayStation 4, of course, even though I've played it on PlayStation 4 Pro. But it's really telling that developers can really improve a lot over the years, even just working on the same hardware. And even as we approach to the next generation of consoles, it's a reminder as well that the first wave of games will be only just scratching the surface, compared to what will be possible later on in the cycle. And back to Ghost of Tsushima, I'd say it's one of the things that impressed me the most, and I told Kai about it. It's just its huge, scope, because it's again going back to Infamous Second Son. It's not only is it much better in terms of quality and polish and all of those important details that make a masterpiece apart from simply a good game, but it's also very, very big. I've been playing it for over a couple of weeks now. Thankfully, Sony was.
You kept that secret.
Well, yeah, I kind of had to, but
you could have told me it was worth buying.
Yeah, no, it certainly is, and like I said, it's been a while since I've begun playing, but there's just a lot of content. The map is huge. You start in the south of Tsushima Island and work towards the top, and it's just a lot of quests and most of them aren't really of the fetch and kill type. So it's most of them are also quite interesting in terms of plot and the characters as well. I think they're pretty well done. Of course, I think The Witcher 3 remains the gold standard when it comes to especially the side content. But I'd also say Ghost of Tsushima isn't too far off, which is a compliment in itself, I think.
So the missions are not like what they are in Death Stranding.
No. It's Death Stranding is much different. I think this one is very narrative driven. There's a lot of dialogues.
Nice.
And
do I buy the collector's edition?
Also, the world is actually populated here, so it's.
I'm literally eyeing up the collector's edition of Ghost of Tsushima now as you're speaking, and I'm thinking, do I spend £160 on that?
So you're what it sounds like, Alessio, is if you're a fan of something like The Witcher 3, so this plays like an action RPG, right? Not so much like an action game. So very narrative driven, like you said. I like the sound of that. That does sounds good. Although
no bollocks to it, £160 down the drain.
I mean, you can't, you don't really have as much of an RPG element in terms of dialogue choices. I mean, you can every once in a while, when you are riding towards a quest objective, you'll be given the chance to replay in a way or another, but it doesn't really affect the story. You can't really change a character's opinion or an outcome of a certain quest like you would in The Witcher 3, for example.
Yeah.
So, knowing the games I like, Horizon, Witcher 3, is it good for me?
Zelda?
That's the question.
Yeah, I'd say it's very, very similar to Horizon in terms of.
That's good enough for me.
How it's
I'm buying it,
and also its quality. And actually, personally, I think Horizon was a bit lacking in terms of melee combat, because of course most of the game was around.
I think that was a ranged focused game though. So
but you've got a lot of options here, because
good.
Over the course of the game, you unlock several tools. You even unlock a grappling hook, for instance. You unlock, various types of darts, even hallucination darts, which are basically the enemies go kind of berserk and don't distinguish anymore between their friends and you. So they attack everyone.
You've sold me on it. That's, I'm just going to get the weird collector's edition with that strange face mask.
The melee combat is great as well. I mean, of course, it's not on the level of Sekiro, for example, in terms of challenge. But at the same time, I am too. And but it's also very cinematic, very fluid, and quite satisfying. When you plunge your katana into the chest of an enemy, it feels good. So
that's a weird thing. When you stab someone right in the heart, it feels so good.
I want can't that to buy be the collector's edition. They're all sold out.
Also, there is kind of a standoff mechanic, which basically, when you approach the Mongol forces, because of course the game is about the Mongolian invasion, first Mongol invasion of Japan. And so when you approach the enemies, the group of enemies, you have the option to do a standoff. So basically you challenge one of them to a duel. And it's interesting because you have to keep the triangle button pressed down, and only when your opponent comes nearby, you have to release it. But if you time it wrong, you are basically not going to kill him and actually lose that yourself. So, but if you do kill him, you can then wait for other opponents to rush in and kill them as well. So it's a neat mechanic, and there is also an armor which basically extends the kill streak, so you can kill 5 foes this way, give or take. And it's cool. It's framed a lot, I think, as a kind of a samurai western type of experience, because there are also a lot of duels in the game, and the camera kind of switches back and forth between the two duelists, and with Jin, which is the main character, barely taking at the hilt of this katana. So kind of like with the Western duels where the characters would just have their hands on the gun.
So we know you like it, but I'm curious what Kai's thinking though. He's just sat there pensive.
Well, let me just chime in and say this. For starters, it's very much the fusion between Horizon Zero Dawn and, bluntly, Assassin's Creed. Like, this is the Japanese ninja equivalent of an Assassin's Creed game that I've been waiting for the build-up for like a decade and a half now. The combat is very much, that free flow stuff. We've seen it with Spider-Man. We've seen it with Batman. Like, most of these character action games have that, your attack, your block, your counter system. But what Ghost of Tsushima does so perfectly is it does mass battles. So it's not just you as a samurai versus like 1 or 2 Mongols at a time. You're looking at, sometimes upwards to close to a dozen enemies coming after you. And it's not just people with swords and spears. You also have to deal with archers. You have to deal with Mongolian attack dogs. Like, there's a lot to contend with.
Do you have NPC allies backing you up?
Yes. So there are like, so
okay.
They have like these massive stage battles where you're trying to essentially overtake a town that's been besieged by the Mongols. Yeah.
Huh. I'm regretting not getting a PS4, but when's this coming to PC?
You can play it via PlayStation Now one of these years, probably.
Yeah.
That'll be a topic I want to scratch somebody's brain on one day, because I have looked at that about 1,500 different times, thinking about it. Maybe we'll talk about that later. Kai, have you used it? PlayStation Now?
I have not. I've been meaning to.
You have?
Chris, go ahead.
I have, yes.
Chris,
on the PC.
give me the 60-second rundown.
It's all right.
Oh, okay.
There's not much to say about it. It depends on your internet connection. You've got to, just get your controller in there, and it all depends on the games you want to play. When I tried it, it was quite a while back, and there wasn't that many games.
Will my Xbox controller work for it?
Yes, but then it's remapping and everything, so I found that a bit awkward.
Okay, I was just curious. That's all I had on. I didn't mean to break the flow of the entire conversation. It's just when you said PlayStation Now, that's something that I've actually personally been looking into. So I thought maybe it'd be a quick aside over a few seconds that we could chat on it.
Good. Alessio was saying something.
Oh yes.
Oh, I think there is something in the open world kind of design that the game does well. Basically, oftentimes you will have the chance to rescue, local people from the Mongols, who have basically they have captured them, and once you do that, basically they'll open up and give you tips or rumors of something that might be going on, in the vicinity, and that's kind of how you get side quests. So
nice.
It's an interesting way to basically it's not just the usual. You go into a town and you get all of the quests, but sometimes you kind of get them organically while you are exploring the world, and you'll get these little chats with some folks, will tell you about some kind of thing that needs to be done. And also there are kind of mythic quests. I think they are, or mythic tales they're called. Basically these are quests that focus on legendary armor, for example, or legendary techniques that your character can then use. For example, there's the Way of the Flame, which basically lets you ignite your katana with fire and do 5 damage as well. Or there is the kind of an Heavenly Strike, which basically is a super fast strike that overcomes the opponent's defenses.
Nice.
The parry and stuff. There is a lot of stuff, and I think Kai is the main expert here in terms of Japanese culture and whatnot. But I think they've also done a pretty good job when it comes to weaving in that kind of culture and religion, because, for example, you can also improve your character with charms, which are given by Kami, and basically you have to visit these shrines, which are a bit of a puzzle element to it. You have basically have to explore an area and find out how to get to the top of the shrine. Or there is also the alternative, which is with the Kaminari. Basically you have to find the fox dance, and then these cute little foxes will basically lead you to shrines for this Kaminari. And it's actually in the lore, because foxes are the messengers of the Kaminari in the religion.
All I'm going to say now, don't spoil too much, because I've just pre-ordered it. So
and then, and then you can save the little foxes. So it's
right. That's okay. Well, I think we should end on you can pet the little foxes.
Well, look. Honestly, down in the comments, or in the comics, in the description, we're going to link the full review from everybody's content will be released. Down there will be linked, and by now they'll be live. So if you want to see more about Ghost of Tsushima, and
who's got some sushi? Your dog's
hold on, my dog is breaking into my office. Let me go throw him out.
But yeah, so everything will be linked. The review will be linked. So I was looking forward to that. But I think Keith's got something to talk about now.
Actually, we've got a couple other games that have one embargo released yesterday. Game releases today. The other one, everything releases today. We're going to talk about that one first. That's going to be Halo 3. Now, I'm not Halo 3 on PC. Now, I'm not.
So that came out a long time ago.
Exactly, and that's why in this video we're in this podcast we're not gonna really discuss the game itself and the stories, because at this point, if you haven't played it, everybody knows the story.
Mediocre.
Look, you can sit over there and think that, but until you've played the whole series as well as the ancillary story lines, hey, I'm just telling you. It's a very nice world. The world building is good.
No, I appreciate that, but the games should actually explain everything. I shouldn't have to read 5,000 novels and watch 50 films.
Look,
no, I shouldn't.
But as far as the thing here is, don't expect anything really new from this one versus the other one. See, Halo Collector's Edition and Halo 2, when they were remastered, they went back and we talk about the story elements. They injected a lot of story elements back into the game. There was a lot of, oh my goodness, words fail me, but there were a lot more cutscenes added. The story was fleshed out better. The graphics were pumped up, and those graphics, the remastered graphics, look fantastic, especially because you can hit the tab button or the button on the controller if you're using a controller that will give you the old graphics and then the remastered graphics, which make it look really big. Now, just like with Reach, Halo 3 was done on the Xbox 360, so it was already much higher fidelity than what you got before. Now, it does still have the enhanced graphics, and it does have a widescreen support, which all games should, and you should play all games in widescreen. Otherwise, you're living in yesteryear.
Ultra wide.
But
does it support ultra wide?
It does. Perfectly. And it gives you the option to have whether you want your UI elements at the edge or still centered in that normal 16 by 9. And I find that to be very nice so that you're not having to look way off to see your ammo count. But technically, it runs great. I ran it on a laptop with the GTX 1650. I've been running it on my desktop with 2080. I ran it on the TV with 2070 at 4K. It runs really well. If you could run the other ones, you're going to run this one. But this one from Halo 2's remaster visually almost looks like a downgrade.
Okay.
So if you go back and you play Reach versus the remasters, you'll notice that Reach still kind of, it feels like it's not as beefed up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a really important thing for people to have some expectations on this. The game runs great. One of the big improvements that I noticed is actually in the textures. So your texture quality doesn't fall off as things go in the distance. So distant. Yeah, so if you're looking at the mountainside,
essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. Now it does. The pop-up still occasionally occurs, but the game is designed in a really good way to not be hit by that with the corridors and so a lot of the old techniques and tricks are still in place. So when you walk out into a big battlefield, you're not seeing things like pop in, but all of the textures far out still look really good like they do up close. And to me, a lot of times for graphical improvements, texture work like that goes further than lighting, and the lighting in here is still it feels dated. The game itself looks and feels dated, but it is smooth and it plays really well.
You can possibly add some reshade ray tracing.
I would highly recommend. Honestly, you said that, Alessia. I do highly recommend if you can use reshade, even if you use it for the screen space global illumination for ray trace GI, because the game is so lightweight that most graphics cards should be able to power that. I would recommend taking some things in your own hands to really beef it up, because that global illumination is really where this game, as far as visually, in my opinion, kind of falters. The character models, you couldn't do a whole lot with that. They reused the character models, but a lot of that falls away if you like the game. A lot of those things start to fall off, and you stop worrying about it, and you just start playing and you have fun. I'd recommend a higher difficulty level, because if you're playing with the mouse and keyboard, it's almost too easy even at normal.
That's standard for any console shooter, though.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it was designed around consoles and the auto aim feature and all of that. But when you got the mouse and your keyboard, you really should bump the difficulty up, or else it's going to start feeling like a shooting gallery.
I think an interesting aspect of reading these kind of Halo ports on PC is that the developer is now kind of getting experience towards making Halo Infinite. It's going to be released later this year, and it will be the first basically day and date release on PC.
I am super excited about that.
Which is so hopefully they have they've got their grips on the platform after all these kind of old Halo ports, so that the new one will be running nicely.
Well,
although it will be engine, of course.
And one of the things that I'm really hoping for now that Halo, like the part of the delay in the timeline with releasing each part of the Master Chief Collection has been working it in, right? So each one has been very different. 3 was probably the easiest one for them to port in. And I'm hoping, because they've done 3, I'm hoping when they go to 4 and 5, I forgot that Halo 4 released on 360. When I played it on the Master Chief Collection, so I never got to play Halo 4 when it launched. I went, a few years ago, and I bought an Xbox One S that came with the Master Chief Collection and Halo 5 because I was like, I never got to play 4 because I didn't have a console at the time. And Halo, as much of a PC gamer as I am, Halo is just a game I always have enjoyed, and I enjoyed playing it with friends. So I was like, I'm going to go pick it up. Yeah, I bought a whole console just to play Halo. I didn't care about any other games that were out on the Xbox. I didn't.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I didn't even debate the PlayStation because I walked in. I was bored. I walked into Toys R Us. Yeah, I know how that may sound to some people, but it was where I was at. There was a Toys R Us still, and I walked in and I was like, "Hey, they got a Xbox One S on sale for $250. It's a 1 terabyte.
Yeah.
It comes with all of the Halo games. I'm gonna buy it." So I bought it, and I started playing Halo 4. I was like, "This looks really good." And then I realized it was a 360 game. And I was like, holy crap. So what I'm getting at is 4 and 5 should come along pretty quick at this point. I mean, we're in July, and the Halo Infinite's coming out this winter season. So
yeah. So I'm thinking, obviously, with 1 and 2, they increased the graphical fidelity. They made improvements. 3 is just sort of like a bit of a port with some slight improvements. So we're hoping that as it moves on in the future games,
what I was getting,
future games where they had a better base to start with.
Yeah, so 4 and 5 were such a leap over 3 graphically, because 3 came out right after the 360 launch, didn't it? It was fairly early in the life cycle.
I think it was, yeah.
2007.
Okay, so
yeah, very early.
Yeah, still fairly early. So by the time 4 came out, it looked like a whole generation ahead, even though it was the same console. Because even when 3 launched, I wasn't impressed by the graphics back then. But I didn't play Halo for the graphics, to be honest. But 4 and 5 look so good. Their downfall is their draw distance. So pop in like crazy. Textures, assets pop in constantly. You couldn't see very far with detail. I really hope with the PC port they just push that draw distance way out, and it will make it look so good.
Yeah, although I have to add that at least for the time being, there are no basically confirmation. There is no confirmation that Halo 5 will be added to the Master Chief Collection. So it's something to keep in mind. Maybe they'll release it separately on PC. I mean, of course.
Yeah,
but,
true.
We don't know yet.
But
they haven't said anything about Halo 5 on PC yet.
Yeah.
So
I
did have one question about.
Go on.
Yeah. Have you guys had a chance to mess around with the multiplayer yet to Halo 3?
I have not yet. I've only been in it a few hours.
We may be able to soon, though. Me and Keith probably give it a go in the near future.
Yeah.
Because I've been curious how the Forge stuff works. Like, I've heard that they're implementing some new quality of life improvements to it. I just don't know how drastic that's going to be for the map making and whatnot.
What I'll have to do for myself is I'll have to go grab my Master Chief Collection on my Xbox and fire that up, and then come back in here.
Make a comparative.
And I'll have to look at it comparative, because I never, as much as I played it, you got to remember, like I said, I played up 1 and 2 religiously, but once 3 came out, it was a single player experience for me. At that point in my life, I didn't really play the multiplayer much, so I'll have to go back and look at it then. But Halo 3 on PC, it's the game you remember, only a little bit better, and gives you much better graphical options as far as resolution, frame rates, and all that jazz. If you've already got the Master Chief Collection, you're going to get it. If you're buying them one at a time, you're probably going to want it. I would recommend it. But the other thing is that makes it hard for me. I'm having a really hard time with this one myself. Did you guys see this? This is interesting because a delivery package just came through my office door, and I wonder if that
Is it ticking?
I wonder if that came. No, it's not ticking. I wonder if that came from Sam Bridges. See what I did there?
Oh, God. But anyway, while we're talking about the quality of a game on the PC, your other game, Death Stranding.
Yes. Well, I mean, hey, what better way? But seriously, Death Stranding on PC.
if it was from Sam Bridges, it'd be a lot heavier.
and probably covered in chiral debris. But Death Stranding, PC, Kai and I, we'll all go around as far as the game itself, but I want to talk about it but from a technical point of view because it is essentially the same game. So the game review, I can't imagine, and Francesco, he's done a phenomenal job with it. I've read his review. It's up on the site. It'll be linked down below, as well as the technical dig into DLSS. So the graphics, the game is built on the Decima engine, which is used by Horizon Zero Dawn as well, and this engine was built for the PlayStation 4. It was not built to be multi-platform. It was built on PlayStation 4, but it got ported to PC using DirectX 12. Well, in the process, NVIDIA worked with what is Kojima Studio? Is it Kojima Studios?
Kojima Productions.
Yeah, Kojima Productions.
Okay, and worked with them on implementing DLSS 2.0 in this game. Now, the game port is spectacular. I know everybody gets worried when there's a port because ports never go very well to PC. but so far, I've gotten a look at all the RTX cards because I wanted to dig into the DLSS. I will be looking at general performance across vendors and everything. But even as low as down to a GTX 1650, you can run this game at 4K, high settings, and you're going to get close to 30 FPS. But you drop it down, the game runs fantastically across all the stuff that I tried it on. It looks wonderful. And I hear people when they say stuff like, well, it's easy to make that game look good. There's no trees. Well, there are if you play the game. There is vegetation. There is foliage. There's water. There's the terrain is varied. It's not just this big flat expanse like an N64 game. And it never hiccups. It runs spectacularly. The only real complaint that I have is that the cutscenes are limited to 60 FPS.
Okay.
So if you're playing the game at like 100 FPS and you go to a cutscene, it drops to 60. But thank God.
Oh, I see what you mean. I'm thinking 60 is fine.
It's
for
just,
me anyway.
Yeah, it'll drop. But thank God. Sorry about that, guys. I hope I didn't break anybody's ears. It's just that variation. But DLSS. This is the first time that I will ever say that I have ever been able to say this. I think the game looks better with DLSS enabled. And it's not even about the performance. You get a huge performance jump. And in that article, you see, like at 1080p, it's not a big jump, but 1440 and 4K, it's huge. At 4K, just to give you an idea, you can run the game maxed out, enable DLSS, and your RTX 2060 is breaking 60 FPS with like minimums sitting around 59. So it's a very smooth 60 FPS at 4K. Okay. I've put in 23 hours into this game so far and have played it in various stages. It has DLSS, it has Fidelity FX in it. So if you don't have an NVIDIA card that can support DLSS, so you're running AMD cards or even like the 16, anything not RTX, you can get a performance benefit from Fidelity FX. The problem is visually they're not comparable in my opinion. It's you run Fidelity FX if you need a performance boost, but you don't want to deal with lowering your resolution because the Fidelity FX in here, it does similar to DLSS and where it renders a lower resolution but upscales it, whereas DLSS 2.0 reconstructs the image to that higher resolution. DLSS in this game will eliminate light flickers that you get in the distance from point lights. So like little light bulbs as you're running in and out of the bridges depot, they'll flicker. And distant objects look very aliased, even with TAA enabled or with sharpening enabled. But DLSS smooths all of that out. And maybe I'll throw some images up on screen while we're talking on the video version of the podcast for people can get an idea of what I'm talking about. But it actually does look better. But it does introduce a slight ghosting effect for really small distant details. So. Hanging power lines, or in the game you have chiral crystals that'll be emitting like just little particles will be floating up. Those
kind of an aura.
Yeah, those will have a little bit of a trail behind them. I didn't realize that it wasn't supposed to do that until later in the game I started switching around features. When you turn off DLSS, you don't see that. You just see the little particle. I thought it was part of like a motion blur effect in the game, but it's not. It is from DLSS, so it's not. It's not a perfect reconstruction, but the thing is, it looks like it's part of the game. So you start to run into that. It's like, well, you get that slight ghosting on small, fine details off in the distance, or do you get the aliased look, but you don't get that. Some other publications have pointed, or that I saw in previews, pointed out things like sparkles on uniforms and water effects and stuff that don't show up in DLSS, but I don't know that it was supposed to originally. I think it's shimmering that you get, like what you get from different aliasing and anti-aliasing effects. So, take that for what it is. But I would suggest reading the article that I wrote and looking at the images and kind of making the comparison on your own. But it's cool to see that it's there. There's no word on it being in Horizon Zero Dawn, but the engine in this game runs so well on PC that it gives me hope for Horizon Zero Dawn as far as how that game's going to run.
Yeah, hopefully other Decima engine powered games as well in the future.
It's a fantastic port. It performs great. The only thing that I have a problem with when people ask me is, should I buy this game? And this has been so many times, guys, that somebody asked me if they should buy a game. It's real easy to say, well, did you enjoy such and such or such and such? And if you did, then you'll like it. Guys, I don't have an answer for this one. I can't make a recommendation on this game other than when they took, so with the embargo, we had the game for a while, and then they kind of pulled it back until launch. I'm like having withdrawals from this game and have not wanted to play anything else. I don't know why I love this game so much.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a weird
I think that you can find that with any game for different people, but yeah.
My wife has watched me play this game on the TV, and after 2 hours, she'll look over and she goes, "What are you playing?" And she's like, "This game doesn't make you're running around and you're delivering packages. What's the point?"
It's kind of like a FedEx simulator.
No, USPS simulator. USPS.
But I love it, and I can't stop playing it.
I feel like this game tickles the same part of your brain that Animal Crossing does. It's just that cathartic, slowly building up. Animal Crossing's about the community, the building. Death Stranding's about all the connections you're doing, building the zip lines, building the roads, all that little incremental stuff.
I think I'll probably enjoy it then because I really like simulator games, where you're building car mechanic simulator or barn finders, anything like that, simulator games where you just slowly build up your little enterprise.
Well, and another thing the game does, and you guys that have played it know what I'm talking about, it actually is almost a multiplayer experience. In the sense that
it's an asymmetric online.
Yeah, so you bring a place online in the game, you connect it to the chiral network, and you have access to other structures that other people have built that have come through there. Now, I don't know what the limit of it is as far as how many instances your game is connected to, but it was being early in the review cycle, so you have access to it when other reviewers do. It's really funny to see other names you recognize, and just in case Jared Walden over at Tom's Hardware sees this by any point, I stole his motorcycle out of storage. I don't know that he meant to put it in a shared storage, but I took it. And I'm gonna post a series of images over on Twitter because it's a really funny mini story that I did. So I stole his motorcycle and I used it all around this area, slowly destroying it, taking pictures of me with the motorcycle in various places until I drove it off a cliff.
I'm surprised you didn't email it to him. You griefing git.
It's more fun to do it this way because then I'm sure by the time he's like, "Where did my motorcycle go?" and I'm out there riding all over.
Just a month later.
Yeah,
that's where it went. I'll get you, Keith.
And I drove over a cliff, but it's a very interesting game, but I don't know that I can recommend it.
Yeah, but what Kai said, that it's in some ways comparable to Animal Crossing, possibly. But
I can see that. I talked to a friend about it who was also looking at it, and we almost came to the same agreement. I think this game for PC came out at the right point with the pandemic and everybody being stuck inside. You get in the game, you get engrossed in it, and you're out. You're not around other people, but you're out, and you're exploring, and you're discovering, and you're just traveling. Also, it gamifies walking. I never thought I would have fun controlling my character while they walk. And being thoughtful of where I'm stepping and which route I'm going to go. You know, you don't want to brute force it in the game. You want to be like, I could go this way, but then, you know, I may run into the bad guys over there. But if I go this way, I need to pack up a lot of extra stuff because it's going to take me and I'm going to need to regenerate my resources and stuff. So,
but, you know, I'm not sure if they changed it in the PC version of the game. I played some of it on PlayStation 4, and it just felt like every couple of minutes the rain would start falling and everything went to shit, and it was like okay, all of that kind of relaxing mode where you are with a normal radius in the wild kind of experience, but it kind of ruined it for me. I don't know. It's
They may have reduced it. It's there, and it's almost like you can predict where it's going to be. And later in the game, you do get the ability to monitor the weather, so you can actually see where the rain is going to be, and you can plot around it, or you can barrel through it and try to avoid the BTs. I'm gonna be honest, I hate the BTs. I hate those sections, but at the same time, it's like you almost like go like I'm gonna get through this. I gotta get in there and get whatever it is, and I gotta get through here, and it changes it up enough to keep the gameplay from getting too stale. So
and later on, you do have ways to kind of mitigate a lot of those the negative elements as well. Like you do get backpack covers that will kind of protect some of what you're carrying. You do get more weapons to kind of fend off against the BTs. But my biggest problem, like I know this got patched out way later after I stopped playing, but every time you come close to a BT, there's that cutscene. It turns off your motorcycle or whatever.
It's still there. That is my personal biggest gripe with the game. It's like you can just pop up the little thingy. Just pop it up. I don't need to go into slow motion, zoomed in, and it going. I don't need all that every time. That is the part that drives me crazy with the rain. Like I don't need slow motion to know that my head covering's going on. I don't need that. Just put it up. So
I mean, it was fun the first couple times when you get that otter hat from Conan O'Brien, just little arms flopping up there. That was neat.
Yeah, I thought it was just no, it doesn't. It goes every single time. I thought it was just for effect the first time. It's like, oh look, nope, every single time. Totally agree with that one. That is definitely a huge negative in the gameplay, and it does break it. But I definitely recommend, if you're listening, to check out Francesco's full review of it. If you want to see the technical side, I did do that. But that's my take. I agree mostly with his review. I think he gave it a little higher than I would have given it, despite my enjoyment of the game. So it's a love it or hate it. I don't think anybody that's ever played the game said it was okay.
Yeah. You will find games like that. Everything I've read, because I've not actually. I don't own it. I played about 30 minutes of it, and it never really sold me.
30 minutes.
I probably need. Yeah, I know. I probably need more.
No, Chris, I'm the guy normally that when you tell me I need 4 hours in a game before I start to enjoy it, this is the reason I never played through Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
When people, they're like, oh, you got to keep going, you got to go further. I'm like, no, if I can't get into the game, why would I keep going? But something about this one.
Yeah, I just played it for. I literally played it for half an hour on a friend's PS4, and it was a case of, again, I've always got so many games to review, preview, or
I shouldn't have.
If I'm not doing that,
I shouldn't like this game.
You shouldn't.
No, based on the type of games that I like and the way that I play games, I should not like this game, but I do. So
I'll give it a go. Knowing me, I'll probably wait until I can get it on sale on Steam. And yeah.
Under $40, I wouldn't question it.
Okay. What's that in English? Yeah, probably £30. So okay, under £30. Yeah.
There you go. But there were some leaks that are now not leaks anymore by the time the video goes live.
Yeah.
From Ubisoft.
Pretty much
with their Ford.
Ubisoft is a sinking ship at the moment.
They got their own problems, but I don't know about you guys. I like Assassin's Creed, at least the newer ones.
Yeah.
Who wants to talk to us about what got leaked? I don't know.
But
I haven't seen.
I'm going to give a negative approach on this just for now. I like Assassin's Creed, but Ragnarok looks like Odyssey. Looks like it just looks the same.
Alessio,
it's actually called Valhalla. Chris, not Ragnarok.
Yeah, whatever. It's all the same. It's
Valhalla. So what got leaked?
Same.
We know there was some gameplay. What else got leaked?
Well, the release date for one thing, and it's quite surprising because it's November 17th, which is 2 days before Cyberpunk. So the big question is, who is going to lose more? I mean, of course, Cyberpunk is a hugely anticipated game, but at the same time, the Assassin's Creed brand is still strong. So I think maybe Assassin's Creed will lose more, but I think both
Assassin's
will
Creed's going to struggle.
Can I've got a prediction on this. So
go on.
So day one, this release date is not going to affect Cyberpunk at all.
No.
Anyone that was planning on getting Cyberpunk is getting Cyberpunk, and they don't care if Valhalla is coming out. What it may do is give it time to get on the market before Christmas, and I think between the time that it launches and Christmas, I think it will sell with a lot of consoles.
Yeah, it'll probably pick up. Yeah, people pick it up with a console purchase.
Vikings in general are kind of huge, lately in pop culture, and
they are. I just think it's CD Projekt Red. It's Cyberpunk. It's the most anticipated game in probably about half a decade.
Yeah.
Chris,
if not more.
Chris already touched on the biggest problem that we've got out of the leaks of Assassin's Creed so far. I was excited, dude. I've got 70 hours in Odyssey. I've got 45 hours in Origins.
Odyssey is a great game. It really is a great game. But Ubisoft have improved they improved so much from the earlier Assassin's Creed to then go move on to such as Odyssey. So it's a bit disappointing to me for this to look like Odyssey but Viking. You may as well just call it Assassin's Creed Viking Odyssey.
Yeah. Did everybody here see the half hour of gameplay that leaked recently?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you did. Kai, did you?
Yeah.
It's but I think in terms of mechanics and Assassin's Creed Odyssey was already very good. I think.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
The biggest difference still between Odyssey and the top of the line open world role playing games like The Witcher 3. We always come back to it.
Oh, you can't help
it. It's mostly in the quality of the quest. So we can't really judge that from a 30-minute.
No, we can't judge the quality of the quest. We can only just look at the actual gameplay style.
I think the problem that a lot of people had when they watched that video, and I mean, like I said, I watched it too because I'm excited for the game because I love this. I love what the series has become, even though if I consider it very little Assassin's Creed and more of an open world RPG with a few Assassin's Creed nuggets sprinkled throughout. Odyssey, there was a very clear move from Odyssey or Origins to Odyssey. A lot of things were very similar so that you felt familiar with it. And everybody wants that familiarity when they move into the next one. But this one looked just like Odyssey, but with just a reskinned Odyssey. Now, it was early gameplay, though, so I'm going to give it... I saw a lot of reused assets from Odyssey. And more so than Origins, because if you go to Origins and you go to Odyssey, things are very different in a lot of ways. But the menu system still looks the same, which is good because now it's familiar, and if you've been playing it, you can keep going, and no big deal. But it looked so many, like I said, so many assets were reused. It didn't look next gen, I think, is the problem.
I think it's especially an issue when you consider that Cyberpunk is releasing right next to it.
Yes,
because if Assassin's Creed released like a month before, people would just buy it, play it, and give it largely positive, maybe review or feedback. But of course, Cyberpunk is kind of poised to, as you said, kind of feel like the next generation open world games.
Cyberpunk has not released, and it's set a bar that is so high. I think
the bar is partly set by The Witcher 3 as well.
That bar was set, but now there's a theoretical bar that's a bit higher.
Cyberpunk is also doing a lot of new stuff compared to The Witcher 3. Because
certainly.
You can customize your character. You can play it in a very different number of ways.
Well, it's got the next generation effects. It has the ray tracing. It has the ray trace reflections, global illumination, shadows. It's got the all of those things that we start to look at when we started talking about these next generation consoles. One of the big things was ray tracing. It's going to have ray tracing. These are next generation effects that are going to be there. And then the gameplay leaks for Valhalla, and it looked like. And now, admittedly, the release footage that we saw could have easily been an Xbox One, not a Series X. Not there were no details around that as far as like what all was going on with it. So if that's the Xbox One S capable version, it's gonna look last gen.
Yeah.
So it's a bit unfair to use the leak as the basis for opinions on a final product.
Yeah, I'm gonna say obviously these leaks could look so much better on next gen. It could end up being like Cyberpunk, where you've got the current gen version and then the next gen version, but like Ubisoft may have already got that ready for when it launches on the new consoles.
Well, they probably started early on with the development using that, so I'm okay with that. I'm holding out for, like Alessio said, the story is what's going to matter. The game, the side quests, the missions that you go on, those are the things that are going to be the world building. To me, is more important than does it look familiar.
Yeah, definitely. And but there are also at least a couple other Ubisoft games that are coming out soon, right?
Yes.
And Far Cry 6, the release date also leaked, so it's February 2021.
So they're waiting for next year for that one.
Mm-hmm. And we had Far Cry 5 and Far Cry New Dawn, not too long ago. And I think Kai reviewed Far Cry 5, right?
Sorry. Yes.
Yep. I enjoyed it.
I previewed.
Yeah,
Primal.
For example, I think Far Cry has kind of found its niche because it's, it has a different kind of flavor. It's not very serious, It's kind of, you have fun in lots of different ways. I mean, you can pick up an helicopter and wreak havoc on the enemy outposts or towns or whatever.
I hope they change up some of the mechanics in this one though. Because the Far Cry series has a good habit, whether people want to crap on it or not. They do have a good habit of carrying over the things that people praised about the previous one and adding in some mechanics. Now, if the people didn't like the new mechanics, the next one they'll take those out.
I know. To say, Far Cry is one of those series that I remember playing the first one, which is it's a completely different game. Then you could see the origins of modern Far Cry.
It was made by Crytek for one thing.
Well, yeah. I know. I say completely different game, but you can see the origins of current Far Cry. If anybody remembers playing Far Cry 2,
I'm gonna I hated that one. I know there's people that loved it, but it was such a chore to play.
So that's it. You can see the origins of it. Back then, it was too big. There wasn't enough to do. I just remember half the game was just trying to stop a convoy of bloody trucks going around,
or not dying of malaria.
Yeah, essentially.
It had
and not having your guns explode.
It had awesome fire physics, though. Do you remember?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
it did.
true.
You could, they had
I do
that in
remember
3.
the fire physics.
In
I
3,
think
you
I
could do it and
burned-
listen to Skrillex while you burned down a pot field.
Yeah,
That was fun. I remember that. And then you had
So
Far Cry
you-
4 you could beat in 10 minutes.
But I think that's it. Far Cry's really developed. It's found its niche, as you've said. It's really developing on, and as a series. And I can see in Assassin's Creed, they've moved away from what they used to have. I've said this so many times as a bit of a negative, but it is that Ubisoft game. Ubisoft have like fine-tuned open world,
Well,
but sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. I mean,
they've moved
open world racing. Yeah,
Ubisoft had a really bad minute where every open world game they had was structured exactly the same.
Around
that's why I
unlocking
call-
towers.
Yeah,
that's why I
everything.
called it. That's why I called them that Ubisoft game, because it was literally the same game.
Is it
but
the
with a different-
first-person shooter one, or the third-person shooter one, or the action game? Because they're all the same.
No, or the driving one.
Yeah, or the driving one, because all of them play the same. But they very much differentiated the games, and they've all kind of found their own niche, and that's good. What was
But
the
my
other
question
game?
is, when's Beyond Good and Evil 2 coming?
It's not. It's never going to come out. It just doesn't exist anymore because it's original and it would be good and fun and wholesome, and we would all be so happy if we got to follow up on Jade's story. But no.
I need to play that again.
Sorry, I have
Somebody switch off Kate.
Look, I bought that game from like the bargain bin.
I adored it.
At a GameStop, and it was like $3 for a used copy on my GameCube. I got home and I played it, and I didn't stop until I finished it. And I was like, why was this game not?
Yeah, it's still one of my favorite games ever.
Yeah,
because the characters are fantastic, the gameplay is great. It didn't look great, modern standards wise, but who gives a shit?
Again, like you said earlier, it's about the game, it's about the story, it's about the mechanics. It was fun. The combat worked.
Yeah,
talking. Oh, God.
This like second game is completely different from what I've said.
I know, but I don't want it to be. I just want Beyond Good and Evil 1, but again,
before I get too upset, what was the other game that leaked as we're running out of time
Legion.
today? Watch
Dogs Legions.
Look, I'm just
Legion.
What leaked on that one?
Just some screenshots.
Bunch of screenshots. But actually, I think Kai saw it last year, and Chris even played
I played it last year.
So guys, tell me about it. Okay, this is me. I'm your average guy. I was burned on Watch Dogs when it launched because of the E3 trailers and then what we got. And then Watch Dogs 2 felt like a GTA clone that just didn't really have anything, but it was a meme. Everything was a meme. What is this one?
Legion is... Again, it's finding itself more than the originals. The original I enjoyed. 2, again, a bit of a step back for me. But Legion seems to be finding itself, and it's also the setting. Essentially, Brexit. It is Brexit, the setting. Or post-Brexit Britain, where everything's gone to shit.
So an American would find this to be a fun thing to experience, right?
Yeah, I'm going to say it's somewhat futuristic, but it's not so much that, it's the fact that you can essentially control anybody.
You can basically take over almost any NPC and make it a playable character.
But you still have your own character, right?
No, I think.
Yeah, they haven't discussed that quite yet.
So we don't know if you...
really something we know.
How do you get connected to a storyline like that?
Well, I think you do have your own character of sorts. I think they haven't really discussed how it's going to work, but the fact that you can jump in and out of everybody, it's still got the same puzzles that you could find in Watch Dogs, like using your phone or your tech to follow different lines and get through alarm systems and futuristic barriers and God knows what else.
So you're like the architect in the Matrix?
Essentially, by the sound, from what I played, it's a bit low tech compared to the architect, but yeah, not far off.
Yeah, the idea I think is that you are kind of assembling a collective for revolution. You know?
Yeah, so essentially, yes.
Huh.
If one of your characters dies, you go on with the others, basically.
Yeah,
that's the idea.
But you can control a nan. You can control your nan, your grandmother.
Yeah,
that's the main thing.
Yeah, the idea is that each of these characters have their own kind of abilities.
So it's very different, is what it sounds like. It sounds like
very, very different.
Is this like different, like what Saints Row did with the 3rd and 4th? Kind of different from the original? Is it to that level?
Not to that level like it was almost a different game, but you can see the origins, you can see where the gameplay's come forward, you can see how they've branched it into it, but it is very different. And again, the sort of dystopian setting, it's futuristic. You've got, and to be fair, if you've ever been to London, I mean, I know you've been to Heathrow.
I've been there longer than I care to.
I know.
You know, if I'd known I was going to be there that long, I would have like gone and done something.
Yeah, you probably could have. But yeah, so you can see it's a futuristic London, but you can see the different areas. As like for myself, I've been to London more times than I can ever care to admit, and it's too busy for me.
Think,
but yeah, you can know it.
There was recently a TV series which was about camera surveillance in London.
Yeah, London is the most surveilled city in the world.
Yeah, so it's kind of a perfect setting, for
wear a mask.
Don't get me started with that.
Well, look, guys, I think we've about run out of time today. This is by far our longest podcast recording yet. I think we had a lot of good stuff. I hope the audience enjoyed it. We definitely covered a lot of topics, and everything is discussed further in the links down below.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be discussing the Ubisoft things that get revealed. Well, that have been revealed.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah.
By the time this goes live, they will have been revealed, but we don't know what they are just yet as of the recording. So I hope you guys get that.
Splinter Cell!
What? Did you say Splinter Cell?
Yeah.
Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Oh, God.
It was an interference.
Alessio, oh my goodness. You
Beyond
killing
Good and
me.
Evil 2.
Elite Squad.
All right, guys, this is Keith. I'm out. Everybody else, say goodbye, and we'll catch you all in the next one.
Bye.
Take care.